Okay, let's talk about a project you have coming up. So, real-time recommendations with RudderStack and Redis, and I can just talk through. This is just a basic. This isn't necessarily reflective of your exact stack, but this is just sort of a basic view for the audience. So, there's sort of two components that we usually see. One we call the behavior-based or page-to-page personalization, which you're running an SDK, in your website or app that's coming through the RudderStack event stream. That can feed Redis, and then you're running a model that makes recommendations, and Redis uses that information that's coming in real time to sort of modify the user experience. And a classic example we give there is, someone makes a purchase and you want to recommend additional products that they might want to purchase. And that's this sort of page to page, right? When the confirmation page loads and they see other products that they want to purchase, you can drive that using the event stream in Redis, which is really cool. The other thing we see that's interesting is using warehouse actions for more demographic focused or sort of user profile focused personalization. So for example, a lot of companies and maybe when you're thinking about enriching a user profile with some sort of maybe third-party data source or some computed trait in the warehouse, you can actually push that back from the warehouse using RudderStack warehouse actions into Redis. So there's a profile store. And the example we give here is, let's say you have a computed trait that says someone's more likely to respond to a particular offer in a particular season. And so you want to serve that to them the next time they open the app. Well, if you push that from the warehouse into Redis, and Redis is driving the model that opens that up, or we even see companies using downstream SaaS tools like Braze, that sort of manage mobile experiences, or a lot of internal builds as well. You can drive that with computed traits on a profile level as well, which is really interesting. But I want to hear about what you're thinking around personalization at Love Holidays.
Yeah. I mean, it's super interesting stuff, really, with what you can do with it. And I think the initial one of the things actually that we've recently we tested and figured out is we have this concept of what we call recently viewed hotels, and this is a lot of customers that come to us use us to browse a lot of hotels and to get an understanding of what options they can go on and what hotel they want to potentially take a look at. And interestingly enough, what we found out was we have a kind of very dumb feature on the homepage that stores all of those recently viewed hotels on your browser, and then you can see them again on the homepage. And in fact, it has a pretty significant conversion rate if we remove that. So what the hypothesis behind that is, actually people like to kind of go back to the things that they've seen, but actually now we want to think about, well, what about if we suggest to them the next hotels that they should be looking at based on their viewing behavior? And this is really where this real-time personalization comes in. We know that customers tend to kind of browse multiple different hotels, and then they actually come back to the homepage to potentially search for their next holiday. And that's where we can start surfacing them the recommended hotels based on their profile overlaid with other profiles of similar matching style. Maybe they're from the north of England and they like to go to Spain, therefore we'll show them a grouping of hotels in Spain. And that's the kind of the first attempt is going to be to personalize the homepage and that recently viewed view, so that actually we can try and suggest potentially different hotels than the ones that they've been looking at, maybe ones that they've not found yet, and see what the behavior is around that. I find that homepage recommendations are very powerful. I mean, Amazon is the king of that, right? And I think that for holidays, it's an interesting one, because unlike a purchase and a recommendation after a purchase, you don't really buy a holiday after a holiday, or vacation after a vacation, right? So in this situation, we want to find hopefully the intersect of the best vacation for someone, but actually also the best vacation for us, right? Be it from a margin perspective or from a one-tree perspective. And I think that's where it gets very interesting. The second part that we're going to do with personalization is that in the recommendation is actually going to be when customers don't find the holiday, the vacation they want. So when you're searching, maybe you've searched for different criteria, and maybe that criteria isn't in our library. Maybe we don't have that hotel available on that day, or maybe we don't have any flights. But what we'll use is we'll use the profile that we've built up of you when you've been searching to then live recommend you some different hotels that potentially other customers have been looking at and have booked, so that you don't get that dead end feel of I can't find my perfect vacation.
Sure.
Actually, here's a bunch of other options that you can take a look at, and surface that.
Yeah, absolutely. And talk us through the stack a little bit. So I know that you use Redis, and we know you're using RudderStack for the event stream, but are you going to use Spark in the equation to drive sort of modeling and leverage the data that you have in other data stores? What's it going to look like?
Yeah, so I think much like the attribution model piece that we had a diagram of, I believe that what we're going to be doing is using Spark to model that stuff out and then push that into Redis. I think we have a couple of other things that we're looking at. Google does have its own, but I think we've heavily invested in Spark. I think we really love its flexibility and its versatility. So are going to use that to pull data from different data sets, and then use that with RudderStack and Warehouse Actions to pull that back into Redis, which I think is going to be super powerful, and build that great profile view of our customers, which actually we've never had before. We tend to just treat customers as unknown anonymous users on the site, and it'll be a big upgrade on that.